As he returns from France, Wilson is well aware of the political obstacles waiting for him at home.
The Senate of the United States was now in the hands of the Republican Party, Wilson's political adversaries, and the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, chaired by Henry Cabot Lodge, a man who absolutely despised Wilson, rejected the treaty.
Conservatives ask, well, what does collective security mean? Is that going to mean that if we join the League of Nations and Britain gets attacked, that the League is going to have the ability to say America must send troops over in order to protect Britain? It's Congress that has this power. Are we giving that power, giving control of our armies to an international organization? For liberals, their problem with collective security is a little bit different, which is, well, won't this just prop up the empires that we're criticizing around the world?
Wilson would compromise quite a bit at Paris with the other leaders of the great powers in order to get the League of Nations. He wouldn't compromise with the Senate. He wouldn't allow the Senate of the United States to include certain reservations that the United States would reserve the right to decide whether it would deploy its troops. Wilson's Democratic senators begged him to allow that kind of reservation, but he wouldn't.
He goes on this speaking tour. He's going to drum up public support, sort of put pressure on Congress to show them the country is really behind this idea of a League of Nations and make them answer to the American people. He has rousing receptions, gives beautiful speeches. He's giving this speech in Pueblo, brings tears to people's eyes, and at the end of it, he becomes incredibly nauseated, starts twitching, and his doctor is afraid that he's about to have a heart attack right there, rushes him back to Washington, where he in fact suffers a stroke several days later. And this, of course, is critical, because from this point on, Woodrow Wilson is out of the picture.
He wasn't in command. His wife really took over as acting president. She wasn't called that, but she was the president in everything but name.
Nobody's really sure who's running the country. And people are kind of mystified. I mean, Wilson is said to have recovered, resting comfortably, but he just disappears.
And the two of them together, Wilson and his wife Edith, came to see conspiracies all around him. And one of the conspiracies they thought was at work was that these Democratic senators who begged Wilson to allow reservations to be included in the final treaty were conspiring to undermine his work.
And then, of course, the end of the story is somewhat tragic for him because the Senate does, in fact, vote down the treaty 3 times. And so when he leaves office, the United States has not ratified the treaty, never joins the League of Nations.
But to some historians, the legacy of Wilson's vision does not end as abruptly as it seems.
There's a view which many people have that somehow or other Wilson was rejected, that some kind of more traditionalist orientation returned to American foreign policy. But I think in many ways the U.S. does carry out some aspects of Wilsonianism. For example, Wilson emphasized disarmament, the idea that the nation should not be spending so much on their armed forces because that would only invite more war, but that they should be willing to scrap their ships and guns and so on to devote their energies to peaceful pursuits.